We're on page 61A. So let's just go over what we learned on Friday. So we had mentioned the story of Rabbi Akiva, that Kol Ma Da'avid Rachmana Latav, whatever Hashem does is for good, and that was based on this Gemara. The Gemara had quoted the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said that a person's obligated to bless Hashem for the bad, just like he blessed Hashem for the good. The Gemara explained it to mean that lekabulinhu besimcha, that we're supposed to accept whatever happens with joy, even if it's something negative. And the Gemara brought some verses, some sukkim, that show this, that David HaMelech followed this way. What does that mean? Well, we have a pasuk, Chesed u'mishpat ashira l'cha Hashem azamera, that he said Chesed and Mishpat, for both of them ashira. For Chesed, which means acts of kindness, which means Hashem is acting kind in a revealed kindness with me. And Umishpat means Hashem is acting in a more strict judgment way. And with either of them, with both of them, Ashira, I will sing to Hashem. I will sing Hashem's praises. Lacha Hashem azamera, to you Hashem, I will sing. And that basically means that David HaMelech would sing to Hashem in the same way, meaning he accepted the same level of joy when something bad happened, something good, because he knew it was from Hashem. And we explained, one of the commentaries explains that it has to do with the fact that he knows Hashem is doing this for the good, for his good. In other words, he's benefiting because Hashem is cleansing him from his sins so that he will have a clean slate, and possibly in order to get the reward in Gan Eden. But even simply just thinking about the fact that Hashem is trying to give him a clean, he's doing it for his benefit. This is for him, and therefore he is rejoicing. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, Mehacha, from another pasuk, he said, B'Hashem halal davar, b'Elokim halal davar. And here you have this idea, this point that each name of Hashem refers to a certain way Hashem is expressing himself. So the name Hashem and the name Elokim are two different ways how God expresses himself. The name Hashem, which is the four-letter name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, that is referring to an act of kindness from Hashem, a revealed kindness. The name Elokim is how Hashem is expressing himself in a more strict judgment way. And then we had the next pasuk. In the next pasuk, the next opinion brought a different pasuk. Kais Yeshua Isesa v'Shem Hashem Ekra, the cup of salvation I lift up, and the name of Hashem I call. And then another pasuk right after it, or right before it, Tzara v'Yagain Emtza v'Shem Hashem Ekra. It says Tzara v'Yagain, pain and sorrow I will find, and I will call Hashem. So use the same term for salvation and for pain. And so these are almost all. So then there's one more. There's one more opinion. The rabbis, they said from a different pasuk, Hashem nasan v'Hashem lakach, Yishem Hashem avayrach. Hashem gave, Hashem took. Hashem's name should be blessed either way. Hashem gave, He took. Either way, with the same joy, I should bless Hashem. Now, then the Gemara mentioned the story of the statement of Rabbi Akiva and his story, the statement of Rabbi Akiva, which is also the statement. Some say it's Rav Huna said in the name of Rav and the name of Reb Meir, and it's also learned in the name of Rabbi Akiva. So people seem to forget that this is Reb Meir's statement also. We think it's only Rabbi Akiva's, but it's actually Reb Meir's statement also, that he says a person should always say, Kol da'avid rachmana l'tav avid. Whatever Hashem does, He does for good. And then we had the story of Rabbi Akiva, who was traveling, they didn't invite him. He didn't have a place to stay, so he went to the field outside the city, and he had with him his tarnagoyl, his rooster, to wake him up. He had with him a chamar, a donkey, to carry his things. He had with him a shraga, a candle, in order to be able to learn Torah. And everything went wrong, so to speak. He didn't have a place to stay. He stuck outside. Then the wind came and blew out the candle. The cat came, ate the tarnagoyl, ate the rooster, and the lion came and ate the chamar, ate the donkey. And now he's basically left with very little. At least for his spirit, he was hoping to be able to learn in the morning. And now he doesn't have his alarm clock. He doesn't have his candle. Anyway, Rabbi Akiva said, Kol ma da'avid rachmana latav. Whatever Hashem does is for good. And sure enough, there was troops that came and they captured this city that he was supposed to sleep. He was planning on staying there. And he told his students, he says, look at that. Everything that Hashem, didn't I tell you? Whatever Hashem does is for good. And had he had his rooster, would have made noise. A donkey would have made noise. They would have found him. If he had his candle, they would have found him also. So everything was really for his benefit. If he stayed there, for sure, they would have captured him. He would have been part of the city. So that is the story of Rabbi Akiva, with this idea of this concept of Kol ma David Rachmana L'tav Avid. And I mentioned on Friday that there is another statement from Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe. His name was Nochum Ish Gamzu, and he was given that name Ish Gamzu because he would always say Gamzu L'Tova. It's interesting. Gamzu L'Tova is Hebrew. Kol ma David Rachmana L'tav Avid is Aramaic. And that difference, if it's Hebrew or Aramaic, is also connected to this idea that in the generation before, Rabbi Akiva was a generation after, but the generation before was Nochum Ish Gamzu. So in that generation, they were able to see the good. And that's why in Nochum Ish Gamzu's story, which we spoke about on Friday, about how he had brought a gift to the king of jewels and gems, precious gems, and it was stolen from the hotel owners, and they changed it with earth. And ultimately, he brought it there, and they wanted to execute him because they thought he was rebelling against the king. In the end, came. Let me mute everyone 1 second. Trying to figure this is okay. Let's see. So the story of Nochum Ish Gamzu was that the angel Eliyahu Hanavi appeared as a officer for the king, and he told him this is the same earth that Abraham used to destroy the enemy soldiers in last week's parsha, in Parshas Lech Lecha. And so sure enough, they tried it and it worked, and they used it against the king's. They used it against the king's enemies, and the king was very happy. This was like the greatest gift that anyone could have given him, and so that's the story of Nochum Ish Gamzu. And that story is that he was able to see the earth was actually a big benefit. In other words, he saw the good. It wasn't that something bad happened. He suffered through the bad, and something good came out of it at the end. This itself was good. Here, the earth, the fact that they gave him earth, that itself was actually a benefit. And so that is symbolic of this higher level where you're able to even see the good that's hidden there. sometimes it's only good that you see will come out of it, but it itself, you don't see it as good. Here, it itself was actually a good thing, and that's the difference between Rabbi Akiva, his generation, and the generation before. And that's why in Rabbi Akiva's generation later, they were on the level of Kol Ma David Rachmana L'Tav of it. At least they could believe that something good will come out of it, but to actually see the good, that's a higher level. Then we mentioned the Gemara on page 61a was about Rav Huna said the name of Reb Meir, about the name of Rav from Reb Meir, that a person should always be careful how he speaks. He uses a term, he should speak mu'atin l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, should speak either soft or less words. And basically the point is not to be angry at Hashem when something bad happens. Al tevahel al pichai brings a pasuk in Koheles, Ecclesiastes, that a person should not rush. Al yemaher lohitzi davar lifnei holikim, don't speak bad, don't rush to speak bad against Hashem, because Hashem is in heaven and you are only on earth. And therefore, Hashem sees everything, and you only see part of the story. And don't judge after what Hashem does, even when it seems like it's bad, because really you have hardly even know what's going on. You don't really have even a quarter of the picture of what's really going on. You don't even have a percent of the picture. Hashem sees the entire thing, and He knows what's best. And it also says, "Ein ra yerid mo'maila," no bad ever comes down from heaven. Hashem is etzem hateva tov lahetiv, etzem hatov. Hashem is the essence of good, and the nature of good is to do good. And so we are sure that everything that Hashem gives is l'tova. And so that concludes that idea that the Gemara was mentioning with the Mishnah's statement of Chayav Adam Levarech, a person should bless Hashem for the bad, the same way he blesses Hashem for the good. And then came the next Gemara. Yes.
Is there a difference between Gamza Latova and Gamza Latov?
Not that I know of.
Like, why would it be Tov and Tova? Like, what's
Zu is female, so if this is also for good, female would be if you're calling whatever happened to you in a female, so then you would say Toiva. If you're calling whatever happened to you in a masculine way, so then you would say Latoiv. It's just the difference between the Hebrew language, masculine and feminine.
Isn't time in feminine text? No, we say Sha'os, not Sha'im.
Itim and Sha'os. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but
I thought the time thing, the clock was female.
Okay, maybe, possibly Sha'os. Sha'ah is female. But what about Ace? What? Sha'ah is female, maybe.
Man is masculine.
Man is masculine. Ace, I think, is masculine. Ace Lataiva. Well, no, I don't know. Ace.
But it's not a specific time. It's not like hours, minutes, seconds. How are those?
Right. Daka, you're right. Shniya. Yoim.
Yom is masculine.
Yom is masculine, but Yemama, Yom
Yamim.
Already, it depends on what the word is. Yeah.
It's Yamim.
But I wanted to say Tov B'Tovah. If something is good, you say it's Tov. But if it's to the good, it's for the good, then you say it's for the Tovah.
Really? You wouldn't say L'Toiv?
Yes. You can say L'Toiv, but you usually say L'Tovah. It's for the good, to the good.
So Ben, what's the difference between one and the other?
One is just saying it's good, but when it's for the good or to the good or for the good is L'Tovah.
The greater good.
Gamzu L'Tovah means this is also for the good, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Ben, if you're just saying that because you're used to that saying Latova, because Gamzu Latova. But
Right,
maybe
right.
if not for that statement, you could say for the masculines, Gamzu Latov, it would also be for the greater good.
You can
I don't
say
know.
that,
No, but you would say
but it's not
Gamzeletov.
common.
Gamzelatov. Yeah, I'm saying the Latov could also be like Latova. It's just masculine and feminine. Anyway,
Right,
bottom
right.
line is, David.
Definitely, the hay is feminine. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. All right. Anyway, bottom line is it seems to me a difference of masculine and feminine. So it's not really much of a difference. The next Gemara talked about the two yuds, Vayitzer, where it speaks about Hashem creating man. It has the word that it uses is spelled a little differently than norm, because it should have one yud and it has two yuds. Hashem created man, or he formed man. It should say yud. Instead, it says two yuds, but yitzer. And the Gemara initially wants to say that it's referring to the two yitzers, the two inclinations that man has, the good inclination and the evil inclination. And the Gemara asks, but then it wouldn't fit, because why doesn't it say a similar word for the animals? Because they also have an evil inclination, and doesn't mention that word. And therefore they bite and they wound, they cause damage, they kick. So rather, the Gemara says, you know why it says two yuds, like Reb Shimon ben Pazi, and we said that Shimon ben Pazi, we said two explanations. One of them is that the fact that it says two yuds is emphasizing vai, like woe to me from my creator, and woe to me from my evil inclination. And what that means is that whatever you do, you're doomed, because if you go with your evil, you follow your evil inclination, then you're doomed from your creator. And if you don't follow your evil inclination, you're doomed from the evil inclination, because he's really going to put a lot of pressure on you. So that's the vai, vav yud, and it says an extra yud as if it says it twice. Vai, and then it has the tzaddik and the reish, which stands for tzaddik and Russia. Vai tzaddik and vai Russia. And so that would be the two words that we're learning from the two letters of yud. The other translation or explanation of Vayitzer, the fact that it has two yuds, is emphasizing that as if it says it twice, Vayitzer, and one refers to Yotzer and one Yetzer. So in other words, the word it says by two yuds, it's emphasizing as if it says this word twice. And once it's referring to the creator, that you're doomed from the creator, he's going to punish you if you sin. And the Yetzer, you're doomed from the inclination, who's going to try to put pressure on you. Inami, then the Gemara gives another explanation to the Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, the Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar do partsuf. And then the Gemara had a second explanation in the Gemara's. The Gemara had the explanation of why it says Vayitzer is that Hashem created two forms, and one is the front and one is the back, that Hashem created in Adam Arisha, and he created the front, which was man, and created the back, which was woman. And that means that Adam was like a Siamese twin, and there was a second head, basically it says, as it says in the pasuk, Achar v'kedem tartani, he created a achar back and a kedem in a front, which emphasized, according to this explanation, means he had a front face and a back face. Yes, Ben.
I'm sorry, I want to add just one thing for David, that the reason it's said Letova is because his name was Gamzu, not Gamze.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Zachar and Nekeva, but he said Letova because it's Gamzu. Zu is feminine. Ze is masculine and Zu is feminine.
Thank you, Ben.
So,
Rabbi,
Yes.
I got another question. On this word that we're explaining by Yitzer, that has the two yuds. So in the Gemara, the Steinsaltz, it has the nekudos. So in the nekudos of the Yitzer, the first yud has a dot in it, which means it's really a double letter, which is really means it's supposed to be 3 yuds instead of 2 yuds. You follow what I'm saying?
okay.
No, so I'm just wondering how does that fit in, or how what's going on here with that? You follow that there's a yud with a dot in it, which means it's supposed to be actually another yud. So there should be 3 yuds instead of 2 yuds.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's because whenever you have a vav yud in the past tense, that's automatic. So it needs to have like an extra. So we're actually utilizing maybe that extra yud and not utilizing the one you see. Either that, or maybe the word vayitzer always would have that dot in it. So that's not surprising. In other words, we're the extra dot is not really what we're worried. In other words, we're not darshaning 3, we're only darshaning 2 because one of them is meant to be there. So
I get it. Okay.
I believe it has to do with the fact that it's a past tense. Okay, so or it means and he. It's a vav with a yud that which goes together. But again, I'm not the expert in diktuk, so we couldn't. You might want to ask someone who knows diktuk better how that works with the dot inside the letter. But okay, we are now. I'm going to mention that there's an argument between Rav and Shmuel about the Tselah when it says that Hashem built Chava from this Tselah from this side. So it says Hashem caused Adam, he brought slumber upon Adam, and he fell asleep, he slept, and Hashem took one of Tzaloisav, Vayiskar Basar Tachtena, right, and he closed it up. So it says Vayiven Hashem Elokim Asat Selah Asher Lakach Min Adam Leisha. Hashem built from that Selah, from that literally side that he took from Adam into a woman. So here you have this argument, Rav and Shmuel, that one of them says refers to the parts of this side, that the way we're explaining it, that initially Adam was created with another side to him, which was Chava, and that's the meaning of this. And the other explanation is no, it doesn't mean there was a whole side that was Chava, that was Eve, but rather it was a zonav, which could be normally translated as a tail, which could mean literally maybe that Adam was created with some type of tail, and that tail was from that tail created Eve, or it means an extra organ that the term zonav is used to mean an extra organ. There was the extra something that Hashem took from Adam, an extra. It doesn't say which organ, but one opinion says maybe it was an actual rib, but it's definitely unclear if you want to follow that understanding. And then so you have 3 options. You have either it was actually a tail, it was a rib, or it was just an extra part of the body. But and then you have the opinion in the Gemara that it was actually Eve was actually attached to Adam, and Hashem just separated them. Now, it's interesting. The Gemara uses the term partsuf, du partsufim. So when it says partsuf, it sounds like it was only a head or a face. But then when the Gemara talks about the tselah, it which could have meant, you could have said, well, tselah means a side, but even there it says partsuf. it's all again. It uses this term parts of. So sounds like maybe it was only the face that was, doubled, and somehow Hashem created from that face into a whole body from it. I'm just wondering why it used the term parts of. Why doesn't it just say her whole body was there? It was just attached to him. Yes, Ben.
Maybe the reason the guy is saying Zanav is because the tail, when you cut off a tail, it doesn't kill or hurt the person. The only thing it does, because the tail is used just to push away the flies. So it makes the animal mad. Like a dog, you cut the tail, it becomes very mad, very aggressive, because the flies bother him too, Anyhow, the tail is not hurting anybody physically.
Interesting.
That you can cut off a tail.
Interesting. Is that why men get angry a lot? Because we don't have our tail anymore.
It's short. That's It's just one bone, I think, our tail. The end of the.
Interesting.
There's an expression when somebody is scared and runs away. They said he ran away with his tail between his legs.
Right. When he raises the tail above the body, that's a danger. He's going to attack. So when he puts it between his legs, he's not attacking, he's running away.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm just mentioning this. I don't know if any of the commentaries, I don't know if you saw anything on the Steinsaltz in the art scroll, but it does seem like it's just parts of in Hebrew means the face, right? It doesn't mean a whole side, it's a face. So it sounds like it's not an actual full body attached to Adam, but it was more just the face attached to the back of Adam's head. And Hashem, cut off that face and created a body, just like you say, Zanav. It was a tail, and Hashem created from that. He built with that Selah, however you're translating Selah, which is either this face or this tail. He created that into Leisha, into a woman. So I guess that's why he's learning that way. That it's because it says Vayiven. He had to build it into a woman. He didn't just take it, cut it off. He had to build it into a woman. That means it wasn't a full-fledged woman. It was just the face of it. Was just a partial body. Okay. So anyway, the Gemara continues and says, this is where we're up to. Bishloim al Damar Partsuf. I believe this is where we're up to. So we're on the last word on the line. About 6 lines down from the medium-sized lines. So which means from the top of the page, we're about 14 lines down. 14 lines down from the top of the page, 61A, yes. Samach Aleph Amar Aleph. Bishloim Alaman Damar Partsuf. It's good according to the opinion that says that it was a face. That's what it means, that Hashem created Adam, a achar, back and front, he formed, which means that there was some type of a face in the front and in the back. It was formed into a face. Elaman Amar Zonov, my achar v'kedem sartani. What does it mean? That Hashem created me, Hashem formed me front and back. Why does it? If it was only a tail, it's not like a full form of a face. So why does it say achar v'kedem tartani? So the Gemara answers, could the Rebbe Ami, Dama Rebbe Ami, that this follows Rebbe Ami's explanation, like that Rebbe Ami said, achar l'maise bereshis v'kedem l'koronos, that Adam was created last when it came to creation, but it was created first, or he's mentioned first when it comes to punishment. And the reason for that is that the whole world was created for man, And so what we end up doing on earth, we are actually causing the animals to act and follow the ways, the things we do. So for example, the generation of the flood that was very corrupt, the animals were corrupt because humans were corrupt. And therefore, mankind is the first one to receive the punishment because he's the source of the activities of even the animals. So that's the meaning of this. So again, Adam was created last to creation, but he is first when it comes to piranha's punishment. The Gemara says, it's good when we understand that when it says he's last to creation, he wasn't created until Friday, and he was the last one to be created. But when it says he's first to punishment, what is that referring to? Piranhas demai. Where's that? Where do we find this? What type of punishment? What's it referring to? Ilema, if you want to say piranhas de nachash, the punishment of the sin that was caused by the snake, that the sin of eating from the tree of knowledge. Tanya, didn't we learn in a brisa that Rebbe says bigadula maschilin men hagadol uveklala maschilin men hakatan, that Rebbe says that when it comes to greatness, we always start from the important one, but when it comes to a curse, we start from the smallest one of the group. And it brings an example, and this is just taking us off on a side point. When it comes to greatness, we start from the most important one. Begedula maschilin men hagadol dechsiv, as it says, vayedaber Moshe el Aaron vel Elazar vel Isamar banav hanisarim, that Moshe said to Aaron, the father, then to Elazar and to Isamar, his children who were remaining. And of course, what that means is his older boys, the older two, Nadav and Avihu, had passed away, and they brought that fire, and it was uncalled for, and they died. And Moshe told Aaron and his two sons that were remaining, Elazar and Isamar, Kechu, take, and it's referring to during the inauguration of the tabernacle, that what they should do, eat certain, they should eat certain of the sacrifices and so on. And so we see over there that it mentions Aaron first, the father, and then Elazar and Isamar. So why is that? Because when it comes to matters of greatness, we always start with the important person first. So, and this is, the inauguration, something of importance, of chashivos, of something special. We're going to start with the important person, and that's Aaron, the father. And now when it comes to klala, when it comes to curse, or like punishment, we start from the katan, maschilin men hakatan, we generally start from the katan. And this is going to be a question on our Gemara, that our Gemara says that you start from that Adam was the first for punishment. And here we have a Gemara that says Beklala, you start from the katan, and it mentions that it's referring to the nachat, the snake. So then the question will be, what is our Gemara referring to that Adam is punished first? So here it says Beklala maschilim nanakatan. When it came to being cursed, who did Hashem curse first? The tchila nisgalal nachash. First, the snake is cursed. Right? He was cursed, and then he's not going to be able to walk anymore. He's going to have to be on his stomach. He'll slide on his stomach and won't have legs anymore. And offer teichel, he's going to eat. That's all the curse was to nachash, the snake first. Then Eve. And she's going to have pain, labor pain, and pregnancy pain. And then afterwards, Adam was cursed that right? Right, he'll have to work for the sweat of his brow, he'll eat bread, and so on. So, 1 second. Okay. So basically, we see Adam was cursed last. Ella, the Gemara says, yeah, that's just the curse. But when did the punishment? What do we see with punishment? We act when it comes to actual punishment. Ella, what Reb Ami was referring to, that Adam was punished first. It's referring to Paranos the Mabul, the punishment of the flood, the chsiv, as it says, all anything, all existence that was on the face of the earth was destroyed. May Adam ad behema, from man to animal. So first it mentions Bereisha Adam, v'hadar behema. First it mentions Adam, and then behema, then remes and oif hashamayim. And so the punishment is first with Adam. And as I mentioned earlier, the reason for that is because Adam is the source of the punishment that's of the sin, because by Adam sinning, by Adam, and not just Adam, we're talking about the whole generation of the flood, by all the people sinning, that caused that the animals would follow suit and also act accordingly, and though they sort of like learn from man, and therefore Adam is punished first. So this is the meaning of Achar V'Kedem Tzartani. Again, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, and one of the explanations is that Hashem formed Adam and Eve together. Initially, when Adam was created, he was created with a double, with two heads, or at least two faces, and the front and the back, and then Hashem created Eve from that. That's one explanation, and the other explanation of front and back is referring to Adam was created last and first. Front and back, or back and front, I should say, is referring to back means last and front means first, which means Adam was last to be created, but first when it comes to punishment. So those are two explanations of Achar V'Kedem Tzartani. Now, the Gemara now continues and asks questions back and forth. Bishleima Lamanda Amar Partzuf, it's good according to the opinion that this is a face that was created, additional face that was created with Adam. Hainu d'chsiv vayitzer b'shnei yudin. That's why it says vayitzer, and the way the Gemara had explained it earlier, that vayitzer, why does it say vayitzer? So we had Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, that he said, du partzupen, two faces. Hashem created an Adam Arishon. So that's the meaning. But if you say it's a Zonav, Ela Lamanda Amar, Zonav, if you say Zonav, so why does it say two Yuds? My Vayitzer, why does it say Vayitzer? Should Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Dam Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Oili mi Yitzri, Oili mi Yitzri. So he says you have the other explanation for this reason, that there's another way of explaining the Vayitzer, the extra Yud in Vayitzer, that a person is doomed from his creator and doomed from his Yetzer Hara. One of them is going to get him. Either he listens to his Yetzer Hara and Hashem gets him as punishment, or he listens to his Yetzer Taiv, but the Yetzer Hara causes him a lot of suffering with seducing him into sinning. So that is the other meaning of Vayitzer, and that this opinion would have to follow that explanation. Now, according to the opinion, it's good according to the opinion that says Partzuf, that there were two faces that Hashem created in Adam. That's what it means, that Hashem created a male and a female. He created male and female. Now, this is a little interesting, because does this mean that maybe Eve had some type of a a body form as well when she was created, because it's saying that, according to this view, that it was a partzuf. It means that she had a female organ. That's what it sounds like here. But if you say that it was just a tail, and Adam was created with a tail, so if you learn that way, my zachor and nekeva baram, what does it mean that Hashem created Adam as a male and female? So the Gemara answers like Rebavo Rami, because Rebavo had a contradiction, and this is going to answer the question once we answer his contradiction. If it says Zachor Nekeva Baram, it says that a male and female Hashem created them. That's what it says. And it says another place, Adam was created, which sounds like that he was created one. Hashem created him. How do you answer these two verses? One implies like they were both created first. The other implies that it was just Adam was created first, and it was created singular. Initially, it went up in Hashem's mind to create two. And in the end, he was only created one. So that is what it means, that the Tzelem Elokim Asas Adam, that Hashem did create Adam, meaning he only created one. He didn't create two people, according to this view. And that it says that Hashem created Zachor and Nekeva, sounding like he created them both at the same time. And that was when he created Adam, he created Eve with him and they were attached together. That is not really the meaning, according to this view. The meaning is he had in mind to create Zachor and Nekeva, but in one form, and in the end, he chose that he's only going to create one, and he'll create Eve from Adam. Yes, Ben.
I wanted to say, actually, there is a little problem with some of these versions, because if you took off a tail from Adam, then today we are not looking like Adam, and means we are not built like Hashem, with Mut Hashem. We were built with Mut Hashem with a tail, or with a partzuf. If you took off the partzuf, the same story. So I think the tzela, they meant a tzela, they meant a rib. They took it off, you still look the same. You still built like Hashem.
Well, I think the question would still be a valid question, because it doesn't, whether it means a rib or a different organ or a tail, it's all something extra. And if you want to say that...
if it had an extra rib and they took out the extra rib, you don't see the difference. It's still...
I don't see the difference, but you need that. How do you know? If that's the Tzelem Elokim and you take it out, so it's no more Tzelem Elokim. It's not about how I look.
Tzelem is the look. Tzelem is the look.
I don't know about the look. So maybe the tail, you don't see the tail either. It's hidden in the pants.
He didn't have pants. Anyhow, it just came to me.
Yeah, it would seem that the Tzelem Elokim has to do with in other words, the fact that there's an extra organ doesn't remove the fact that this is still Tzelem Elokim. In other words, if he was missing something, that would be a problem of Tzelem Elokim. But to have an extra little organ, I don't know if that makes a problem. That now he's not Tzelem Elokim because he has an extra, maybe he had an extra gallbladder. I don't know what he had, an extra, arm. He had an extra finger, whatever it was. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's not now Tzelem Elokim. He's Tzelem Elokim. He happens to have an extra piece that Hashem is planning on taking off for some reason. But it's still Tzelem Elokim. So you know what I mean? It's an interesting thought that you have. I'm not sure if it creates such a problem that he's not Tzelem Elokim. I also don't know if Tzelem Elokim means how he looks. It's
Tzelem.
If he is.
Yeah.
It's a form. Tzelem is the form. If he's in the form or he's not in the form. So if you want to ask the question, I'm strengthening your question really. I'm saying the question applies even if you want to learn that it's a different organ. It's still, you could still ask your question. Either, which way is Tzelem Elokim? Is it with this organ or without it?
Yeah.
And then the question is, why don't we have it if that's the initial way Adam was? Shouldn't the future creations have this extra limb or have this extra face? Right? That's an interesting thought. But the commentaries here mention an interesting thing. They say, what does this mean that Hashem initially wanted to create man, male? He wanted to create him initially. Allah b'machshava livrei shnayim, two.
That's the one that's mostly accepted by me.
He wanted to create two.
Yeah.
But
he created one.
But in the end, he created one. So initially, he was going to create Zachar and Nekeva. So what does this mean? So one of the commentaries, there are two commentaries on this. One of them says that it doesn't mean that Hashem changed his mind. It doesn't mean that.
Right.
It means that Hashem could have created Adam and Chava just like animals and created them separately. Created male, created female. And Hashem decided that better I should create one, only male, and from the male I'll create a female. Why? Because, in other words, he could have done it the other way, but he specifically did it this way for a reason. Now, it doesn't mean he wanted to do it. He thought of doing it that way. It means he could have. It doesn't mean he thought of doing it and changed his mind. He didn't change his mind. It means he had a reason why he didn't. He could have done it that way, but he had a reason why he didn't do it that way. And what's the reason? Because if he created us separately, we would never appreciate each other fully. And by creating Adam and causing Eve to be a part of Adam, he caused us to have a appreciation, a desire for each other, to benefit each other, to enjoy the benefit from each other. So, in other words, by creating us as one, in other words, Adam, and then through Adam he created Chava, didn't create us like animals. This allowed that there would be a desire between husband and wife. So that's what it means, that he could have created us two, but he created us in one. That's one explanation. There's another explanation that initially Hashem could have created us separately, but the nature of man is to fight. And in order to make peace, Hashem created us similar to him and in one form, Yachid Ba'ilamai. And in this way, there will be peace as if we're one body. That sounds like a similar shot, but the idea is that if he created us two, there would be more fighting. And I was emphasizing more the fighting part, and the other shot was emphasizing more the desire for each other. If he created us in one, we have more desire for each other rather than if he created us separately, and we wouldn't have that same desire for each other. So that is the explanation here. Now you could ask on this, well, what about animals? They have a desire for each other, and they weren't created in one; they were created separately. Anyone want to answer that question?
Well, this way, each one can go and find their own food.
But they have a desire for each other, even though they were created separately. So why couldn't Hashem create man like that? Create separately. It says he specifically created us as one. In other words, the way we're learning this now is that it was that Adam was created singular with a zonav, with a tail, and from Adam, Eve was created. But why did Hashem do it that way? He initially wanted to create us as two, and we explained because this way we would have a desire for each other.
But this way we can also keep the purity of the family, and you're not supposed to have relations with the rest of the family. It's just between you and the wife. By the animals, they don't care. They jump at each other. That's it.
So your explanation is that it sort of limits it. It limits your desire for your spouse. Okay. The
purity of the family.
Right. What it seemed to me is that animals, they don't have the same type of personalities and mentalities and emotional issues that people have. And with people, it's much more complicated to be in a relationship than for animals to be in a relationship. Because for animals to be in a relationship, it's basically food and cuddling.
I see the deer in my backyard. A lot of deer come in and leave, and they don't care, how old the male is or how young the female, or they just mix and match.
So okay, so that's your explanation. That fits with your follows your explanation. Yeah. Okay, good. But I was emphasizing the fact that it's much more harder for humans to want to have a marriage, to want each other if they don't see each other eye to eye on other matters as well. You know what I mean? There's much more involved than for an animal, and therefore Hashem specifically made us as one so that we would have that desire for each other, and it would overcome we would be able to overcome the differences between us. Okay. Anyway, the Gemara continues and mentions another question that the Gemara asks based on these two opinions. Was it a partsuf or a zonav? Was it another face or was it a tail? And the Gemara says, Bishleima, it's good. Lamanda Amar partsuf, if you say partsuf, that it was a face, Hainu dechsiv, vayiskor basar tachtena, that Hashem closed the flesh under it, because there was a whole other face, and it needed to be, it was like a hole under, when he separated them, there must have been like a hole there that needed to be closed up. You had to fill it up with flesh. Ela lamandamar zana, but it was just a tail. My vayiskar basar tachtena. What does this mean that he closed up the flesh under it? It's just it's like there's nothing to really close up. It's just a tail. You just cut it off. It's talking specifically about that little area where he cut it. It needed to close. So in other words, for the tail, it's a tiny little thing that he has to close up. For the parts of it would be that whole head, or however we're understanding it, if it was the whole body, but or even not, even just the whole head, that whole area needed to be closed. The next Gemara mentioned Bishleim Lamandamar Zanov. It's good if we say that was a tail. Haino dechsiv vayivet. That's what it means. He had to build it. He had to build. Elamandamar parts of my vayivet. According to the opinion that it's parts of, it's a face. What does it mean? He had to build her. She was already built. This sounds like it was a whole body. According to this, it sounds like it was an entire body, because it seems like all he needed to do was separate her. So maybe that's the understanding now, that it really means a whole body. We said the word parts of, but here it sounds like it's a whole body. So in other words, Zanov, he had to build a whole female from. So again, we have a few sources that it seems like it's the whole body. One of them was the Gemara before, where it said that Nekeva, Zachar and Nekeva Baram, he created a female. So it wasn't just the female face. It sounds like she was, this was a female. No, it was the whole body. Here also, it sounds that here. I think you have to learn that way because it says Vayivan. Vayivan means he built. He built the. And the Gemara is asking, what did he build? So the Gemara answers, Reb Shimon ben Menasya, the Darsh of Shimon ben Menasya, Ma'idachsiv Vayivan Hashem es hatzela. What does it mean that Hashem built the side? What's the term built? Melamed shekla kadosh baruch hu l'Chava. This means that Hashem braided Chava. He made her a sheitel. He braided her hair. He braided her hair. Ve'avia la'adam arishayin. Doesn't mean a sheitel. I'm just joking. He braided her hair and he brought her to Adam Arishayin. He was like the shadchan, and he brought her to Adam Arishayin. He says, "How do you like her?" And Shakem B'Krache Yam Karen L'Kliyasa B'Niyasa. That in certain islands they call braids building. So therefore, it seems like that basically she was a full-fledged person, and Hashem just separated her. And then it says he built her. It means he braided her hair and made her beautiful, that Adam would be attracted to her. Davar Acher, another explanation, Vayivan, that Hashem built the side of Adam and made it into Chava. Rav Chizda b'Masnisa Tana. Rav Chizda says that some say it was learned in a brisa. Melamed shabna kadosh baruch hu l'Chava kibinyan oitzer. This teaches that Hashem created Chava like a storage place, like a storage building. Ma oitzer zeh, just like a storage location, is katzer milmaila be'rachav milmata. It's narrow on the top and it's wide on the bottom. Kadei lakabel as haperos, in order to be able to receive the heavy fruits, because if it was narrow on the bottom and wide on the top, so it would cause the walls to fall over. It would be too much weight on the sides. So therefore, if it's narrow on the top, but it's wide on the bottom, so it'll be able to handle all the weight of the produce. And so same thing, Af Isha Katsara Momaila, the way Hashem created a woman is that she's narrow on the top, or Rechava Milmata, and she's wider on the bottom, Kadei, in order the Kabbalas Havalad to be able to receive the child. So somehow this has to do with the womb being wide to be able to hold the child. And then the Gemara continues and says, "Vayaviyaha el ha'adam," and he brought her to Adam. Amar Reb Yirmiyah ben Elazar malamed shenasa leHakadosh Baruch Hu shushvin la'adam arishayin. Hashem became what's called a shushvin, which is a someone who helps out the chasan and makes him joyous. It's like a friend who the friend of the. So he became the shushvin for Adam Arishan. Adam, of course, Adam was the only person alive, him and Eve. So Hashem became the friend to be Masameach him. Mikan lim de Torah derech eretz. From here, your Torah teaches derech eretz, ethics. Sheyachzer gadol katan b'sheshvinos, that even a more important person should be a shoshvin, a friend to the chasan, even to someone who's smaller than him in importance. While Yeralai, it shouldn't make him feel bad, because even Hashem became a shoshvin to Adam Rishon. I see